So, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally here. This is the final episode of the Wheel of Time First Time Reader podcast for book one, The Eye of the World. If you have not caught the first part of this video, please head over to Jenny's channel and check that out, and then come back here to watch the final episode. But without further ado, let's get straight into it.
So the next chapter is called Against the Shadow. The icon is the heron-marked sword. Okay. And again, long summary because this chapter is really confusing. Okay. Rand flees until he reaches the edge of a cliff. When he turns, he is facing the Forsaken, who looks less withered than before. Rand can see a glowing rope connecting the Forsaken to something behind him, and a piece of that rope disconnects and connects to Rand, filling him with warmth and light. The Forsaken is enraged, claiming that the light is his, and suddenly flames shoot out of him and he burns up. Then Rand is suddenly in a mountain pass, watching the Borderlander armies, battle armies of Shadowspawn. A Murdral spots Rand, and a Drakkar starts flying towards him, and then the Drakkar gets struck by lightning, and fire consumes masses of the Trolloc armies. The human armies, like the armies on the ground, they launch their final charge as Rand climbs some steps in the sky, and then he enters a room where he meets Balsamon. Balsamon also has a cord attaching him to something, but his cord is black. Balsamon shows Rand a vision of his mother being tormented, and Rand finds himself holding a sword made of light. Balsamon says that Rand cannot use the power until he has taught him, and Rand uses his light sword to cut the cord from Balsamon, and then Rand falls to the earth. Todd's artwork is this, just Rand with lightning.
It's dope.
Yeah.
It's really dope.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So, thoughts on this chapter?
It's funny because essentially, if you watch the show, episode 8, the lightning strike that happens with the Trollocs, that's because of Nynaeve and Egwene,
The girls,
right?
Yeah.
That's because of the girls doing that. In the book, that's not the case at all. You know what I'm saying? That is not that. Well, appears that way. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
And there's other indications that get brought up too about, Moraine telling Rand, you're the one who healed the horse Bella and stuff like that, which we start to understand that he had access to the one power
this whole time.
At oftentimes throughout this whole time. This actually was one of the more confusing chapters to understand because of how he was in one place then the next place.
Yeah. I am in no way.
Sarcastic part?
Very, very, very sarcastic. Yes. If you are in no way alone. Like I have a podcast also that you can't listen to, but the first episode of the podcast, before I joined the podcast, literally the first episode of the podcast is called "What the Heck Happened at the End of Eye of the World?" And this is yeah. So okay.
It like as a brief segue from this conversation real quick. I often feel like this is like one of the most like one-sided friendships that I have with Jenny. Cause like she can watch all my content, but I can watch none of hers. I feel bad sometimes because I want to tune. Because Jenny will be like, "Yeah, Addison, I saw this and this on you," and it's like, dang, I wish I could be like, "Yeah, Jenny, I saw that on you," but it's like I'm not allowed to.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so this is one of those chapters where watching the show actually helped me to understand landscape and context of what was going on. Because if I had just read the book, I think I would be a lot more lost than I was. But understanding the battle that was going on in the field and the lightning strikes and how that stuff happened, and to understand that Rand was in a battle with the Dark One as well, that assisted. I will say that these villains, man, they do a lot of talking. They do a lot of talking in a few actions, and that's and I'll talk about this a little bit at the final thought process that we have. But again, this is another example of the evil entities not being on the same page, because this one is really trying to get rid of Rand so he can have his place. And as we hear Balsamon tell Rand several times, "You'll be second to me only if you kneel to me." So it's like, I mean, I understand there's jealousy and things that come about, but this is a little bit weird. And also another thing I wanted to ask you, was he getting younger during the course of this?
One of the Forsaken appeared to be getting younger.
Okay.
Yeah. So like,
And that
looked
actually
like he was
scared me a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like he was drinking from the eye of the world, and it was somehow healing him. That is my
Got you.
assumption. Yeah.
That's well, I actually thought a little bit worse than that. I thought that he had taken care of, Moraine and a few others, and their life essence was giving him youth again.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I actually thought it was something a little bit more dark than that. But yeah, these villains do a lot of talking, and I feel like for those of y'all who watch basketball, when it actually gets to Bauhaus-Zaman, I feel like the scouting report on you is out, my brother. Do a lot of talking about stuff that you'll do or how big and bad you are, and then I'm just gonna accidentally defeat you. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is. A lot of talk, a little less game, and yeah, I feel like his nickname, I know he's a father of lies, but he should probably also get the father of trash talk too.
Oh,
yeah, he should get that one up there too.
Definitely,
father of trash talk.
So speaking of father of lies, because that is something I wanted to bring up. Because he shows Rand this vision of his mother being tormented. Yeah. Do you think that was real, or do you think that was like him being the father of lies and tormenting Rand with?
I'm not gonna lie. Because Egwene was in it, it felt fake.
Okay.
But on his mother's side of things, it felt like it could have been real. Okay. And in my opinion, it's like, dang, you pretty much just showed me that my mother is in hell. She's in Hades. Yeah. And you pull on her string. So it was like, golly, that was a little bit tough because of the way that she was talking too. But I know from the show how he had the situation where he showed Rand him and Egwene having a good life with the kids. So I understand that he could replicate some fake visuals to get you to feel a certain type of way. So for that, I would say I'm 50-50 on that visual right there.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, actually. I don't know. Okay, but I have a thing to show you, but I want to know, do you have any other thoughts? Like, you found this section confusing, and again, that is understandable. I see someone in the comments saying it's one of the most confusing chapters. There are people who finish the entire series who just go, I don't know, the end of the eye of the world. We won, and then that's it. Like, they don't really know. Like, a lot of people don't understand this. So I kind of get why they simplified it a lot for the show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think they had to, because Rand just like disappears in some places, and he appears, and he's climbing steps in the sky, and blah blah blah. Like,
that's some crazy visuals.
Yeah, I don't know how they would have done that in the show. What do you think on that, though? Now that you've done it sort of in the reverse order.
The only thing I dislike about it is the fact that we finally get to see Rand getting some credit for some things, but in the show that gets taken away from him again. So to speak. And I don't know why that reason was for either. And then almost it's a little bit, the only similar feeling that we have is he had one of the biggest wins that nobody knows about, so to speak. Yeah. In the book and in the show. Yeah. For obvious reasons, though. For obvious reasons, because of the narrative that is out about men who channel the one power. Yeah. But I feel like he had one of the most monumental wins that nobody knows about. And he still gets treated as just like some farm sheep herder type guy for the most part. I will say this too. Moraine doesn't even really tell you anything. She don't tell you how you're gonna defeat the Dark One. She just brings you here. All right, do what you do. It's like, what? What? Like, he stumbled into this fight really because Moraine got,
taken out. Yeah.
Taken out for that time. But it's like there's no real direction as to what they're supposed to do. We're just supposed to come here and then you'll find your own way. It's like almost some like Miyagi stuff off Karate Kid.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know what she could have said, though. Like, if she had told any of the boys, like, one of you can channel, they would not have wanted to hear that. Like, because of what happens to men who channel. So she couldn't have prepared them in that way. At least, especially with the way the show or the book dealt with it. Like, no, they would not have reacted well. And she specifically says she can't teach him. So she can't actually, like, in the show, they do it differently. In the show, she says she can't teach him because the more he channels, the more he'll go mad. Which is a true thing in the books, too. But in the book, she says she literally can't teach him because the male half and the female half are separate and different. So.
Yes.
I don't know what she could have said to, like, them that would have made it better. I don't know. What do you think she could have said? Like, honestly don't know.
Shoot, that right there. hey, Rand, I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I know I got to take you. That would help me more. Actually, that just telling me that you don't really know what I got to do, but I got to take you would help me more, because I feel like there's a portion of like he's leaning on her or expecting something of her that he doesn't really get, and he has to find out on his own, which actually I feel like could be a bad characteristic, because it could be one of those, I don't need you, I can do what I need to do on my own anyway. And then he ends up going down the darker path. I feel like could be one of the issues with it. But back to the villain side real quick. I will say I do like how the book does not make all of the minions mindless.
Yeah.
Like they have their own, like a lot of times bad guys, their minions are just mindless. What do you want us to do, boss? Got it. And they fight to their death doing what he wants to do. A lot of the villains in here have thoughts. They have
their own agendas,
unique perspectives, their own agendas. And some of them you can tell, I just like the diversity of the bad guys in this story.
Yeah. I will also say, I see Dana in the chat pointing this out. Moraine didn't know the Forsaken would be there. That is true. She didn't know. Like, I think a lot of Moraine's journey, and I've mentioned this before, it's interesting because the show has made me care about Moraine. I care about Moraine in further books, but in book one, I generally, she's just the guide up until after the show. And so I think a lot of what's happening in book one for Moraine, just trying to see it from her perspective, is her going, all right, I have a plan. Oh, dang it, why are these kids doing everything different? Like, they always doing what she's not planning for. And then she gets them to the Eye of the World, which was a deviation from her plan in the first place. But she thought, okay, we'll get them to the Eye of the World, and whichever one of them is the dragon will do a thing. And I've got it. I know what we're going to do. And then she gets there, and then the Forsaken show up, and it's, again, every time she thinks she has a plan, it doesn't work. Like, it's...
For sure.
Yeah.
And I do get that Moraine has a heavy task of navigating through everybody's feelings and getting everybody there safely. So from that, I will say job well done, navigating the whole crew through dangerous territory, enemies, and all of that. But I feel like in these final chapters, we come to understand you are not the strongest person in the group or on the planet. Or on the planet. But it feels like that from time to time as we go through this book. Going into the battle with Bahausaman again and the visions that they have, Rand ends up with a sort of light instead of his hand-marked sword, I think.
A light sword. Somebody called it a lightsaber in the chat.
A lightsaber. The medieval lightsaber. Which is, dang, that's not good again because Anakin again. Never mind. Let's just stop. Let's stop talking about Star Wars and Wheel of Time at the same time. We need it. Death to the Randican narrative. Death to that narrative right there. But Darth Bahausaman, now let me stop. But yeah, there's a lot of talking. And what the biggest thing I'm starting to think of is either you're not the actual dark one. You may not be the biggest villain.
You mean
that's what I'm starting to think of.
Bahausaman?
Yeah. Okay. Bahausaman. Yeah. I'm starting to think like you may not be the biggest villain. Because this, in my opinion, this was like too easy of a fight. Like,
okay.
I know there's a lot of stuff that occurred in dialogue, but it's like, that's it. Like, it wasn't anything too crazy. You know, it's not like Rand lost an arm or got, because I'm used to like when it goes down, it goes down. But this was, Rand walked out of this pretty much kind of unscathed, except for emotionally and mentally, maybe.
No, emotional scarring, it doesn't matter. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. But okay, all right, that is interesting. Balsamon, the Digimon is not the okay. The one thing I wanted to talk about is for the most part, the audiobook, you're getting the full experience, and I love audiobooks. I consider audiobooks reading. I am not one who makes a difference between them. I'm a teacher. I work with kids with dyslexia. Whatever it gives you accessibility to reading, that's good. Yeah. I'm whatever. But there is something that we miss in the audiobook that I wanted to show you. So in this chapter, there's this section here where all of a sudden we have these all caps sections here that have no quotes or anything. So I'll just start here. It says, "The light blinds you, Balsamon. This has to end." And then all caps, no quotes. It just says, "It is not here." And then later, "I will take no part. only the chosen one can do what must be done if he will. And then down here it says not here. This does not happen for the majority of the books. Like, this is one of the only times it happens, and then it happens much, much later. What do you, because you don't get this. Like, when you're listening to the audiobook, there's no way they can say, suddenly the text is all caps with no quotation marks, but it's dialogue. So we don't, what do you think this is?
So it was read.
Yeah, she
by
read it.
Rosamund Pike.
She read it out loud, but there's no way to tell you, like, that the text.
It threw me off. It actually threw me off because it did make me feel like there was a third party involved.
Exactly.
That was just overseeing, but not really doing anything outside of that, and coming in and coming out. And I thought, so the way it came and went so fast, I was expecting, all right, this character's going to manifest, or they didn't manifest. Let me get back to the story. All right, there was a blip on the radar. So I actually forgot about it as I continued to read, but I do remember that, like, is somebody else watching? Yeah. Like, actually, I was in the car. I had to, like, look in my back seat, make sure, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's back there with me as I was riding and listening. Yeah, no. So my general thoughts about that is that there's another third party here who is observing, who probably is a bigger factor than these two individuals that we see right now.
Yes. This is, I don't think Robert Jordan ever said what this is, but do you have any guesses? I can tell you what my thoughts are on this. And I don't know if it would be spoiler, because I don't, like, Robert Jordan never confirmed or denied it. So before I tell you my theory, do you have any thoughts?
I'm trying to go back to what my initial thought was. My initial thought was, because I know sometimes Rand and Matt do things that are not of themselves. So I was wondering, is it the other portion of you that's trying to take over, that is talking, like, that is within your body? This is going to be a weird description. Like, there's an observer in your body who can take over whenever they want, but they're just choosing not to at that time. And they chose to speak in that instance because it might have been an important moment where they wanted to kind of take. I know that's like the weirdest thing ever. I think there's a Black Mirror episode that kind of gives people that has a better description of how that is. But yeah, so that's what I thought. It was themselves, but the more knowing version of themselves.
Well, because you are right. It goes by really fast. So only reason I have this theory is because of specifically what it says. This voice says, "It is not here. I will take no part. Only the chosen one can do what must be done, if he will." And then later on it says, "Not here." My theory on what this is that it is, in the book, the version of the creator. And I think it's a world building thing. When you create a world where you have a creator and a dark one, and you have, like, the creator's on the side of the good and you're on the side of the good, it would make no sense if the creator doesn't do stuff and help you. But then it's much less of a story if the creator just comes and swats the Forsaken away. So you have to explain for some reason why the creator isn't doing that. Because otherwise the story is dumb. Like, the story doesn't make it, like... So I think that was Robert Jordan explaining, like, making it the creator's voice and explaining, this is why the creator isn't doing it. The creator says the chosen one has to do it. Otherwise, it's too easy of a battle. That's my... But literally, that's my theory. That's my theory.
That makes sense. That's an interesting theory. Yeah. That makes sense, though. It does seem like a omnipotent, like, all powerful type voice when I see it in all caps like that.
Yeah.
The other thing too, the reason why I feel like that Bahausaman is not the biggest enemy is because he has a string, right? And when I think of people being attached to strings, I think of a puppet master. So that was another thing that was kind of on my mind as I was seeing strings being attached to people. Because I think of somebody who's powerful, they don't have to be attached to anything. They can move as they please, or, you know, whatever case may be. So that was one thought process that came about as well.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, going back to the battle that happened with, like, the Trollocs and Rand and the lightning, I think you've put together that, like, it was sort of Rand doing that. Like, am I?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think about the changes between that and the show? Because the show, as you mentioned, that was the girls, like the female channelers, not even Egwene, but other female channelers, although they all died.
Well, yes. So my thought about this was similar. Actually, I kind of brought it up a little bit earlier. It's like Rand can't get credit for anything that he does. So that was one of the thoughts too about that. And then two, it is His fighting is weird. It's a little bit, and I know I got to be patient in Rayfo, as people say. It's a little bit annoying not having him confidently access his power, because every interaction with the power is like he just gets super emotional, and then the power or somebody on his behalf takes over and actually does the most accurate attack that anybody could imagine, and kind of wins it. So it's kind of like you won, but you know, it's one of those, now tell me how you did that again. One of those types of jokes.
Yeah, I think he doesn't know though. Like, I mean, he doesn't even put together that he channeled until the next chapter. He's just doing it. So sorry, Addison just Rayfo'd himself. Just like nice.
Yeah, it's like I gotta be at this point. I gotta be patient. Rayfo myself.
I will tell you, Kay, I don't know that I've ever mentioned this to you. I read this book for the first time, not knowing it was the first book in a series. Somebody gave it to me, and I had specifically asked them, I don't want a series, because I don't want to have to, read a whole, and so I got to the end of this and was like, what? Mm-hmm. And I am very old, so I didn't even have the internet at my house. I just, I had no idea. For maybe a year, I just thought that was a really weird way to end a book. And I didn't understand what happened.
Yeah.
So
for sure. And I'm also, and the thing too, prior to listening to this, I listened to a series, Red Rising, and every book ends in a way that you know there's going to be another book.
Right.
Like there's no doubts about it. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as leading into another one, it was a soft lead. So I'll say it's like a 5 lead. Now, I obviously want to read more about the series because the characters are interesting. But it's not like one of those things to where somebody kidnaps your girlfriend and you know, kills your son, and now you got to read to find out how they get revenge or how they get that. It was like a soft lead. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to figure out how savage is Robert Jordan with his writing.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I can't really say any more on that. So, all right. Well, do you have further thoughts on this specific chapter before we move on to the next one?
No, I had a but piggybacking off of my last statement. Now that he's defeated him, it's like, okay, I guess this is the main plot point of the whole book, was to defeat this person. So what bad is going to happen to segue into the next book now? Right. That's what I was in anticipation for as I finished the chapter where he defeated Baalzamon. Accidentally, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, sort of accidentally. Yes, it's true. Okay. Well, then I will go on to the next chapter. The title is There is Neither Beginning Nor End, and the icon is 3 leaves on a branch. Rand wakes up and has some memory issues. He does remember generally that he battled the Dark One and that he won. He finds his way to Moraine, Egwene, and Nynaeve, and Moraine explains that when the Forsaken were bound at the end of the War of Power, the 2 that they fought here were likely bound too close to the surface, which is why they became free as the seals began to weaken. Rand explains what happened to him, and in the explanation, he realizes that he was channeling, which horrifies him. He assumes that Moraine will want to gentle him, but she seems to have no plans to do that. Perrin, Mat, Lan, and Loyal return from searching the bottom of the empty pool that was the Eye of the World, and they give Moraine what they found, which includes a golden chest, and inside the chest is the Horn of Valir, which is said to call back dead heroes to fight the Dark One. Todd's artwork here, which is Loyal, Moraine holding these broken things, and of course, then there's Perrin with the banner. Okay. So, this chapter.
Yeah, it was like, this is unfair. I had to go fight the Dark One, and all my friends get to go on treasure hunting missions. I'm kind of mad about that.
While he was fighting the Dark One, his friends were just hiding. They were just hiding.
Yeah, that's a fact. And then y'all come back with knickknacks and treasures and different things. It's like, so while y'all were finding what y'all finding, y'all never think, and they explained it. Well, Moraine said, you know, you had to do like, y'all supposed to be my boys. Bump Moraine's answer. We just seen some Forsaken. I shouldn't be stopping looking for my friend until I find my friend. But meanwhile, I guess, you know, hide and go seek, whatever they were doing. And everybody's in perfect shape. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Although we, you know, they said we heard Moraine jail, I didn't think Moraine got killed by the Forsaken.
But she again, this time around, she got really injured. Like, she's still recovering at the end of the book, and it looks like that's weeks later.
I feel like she's been recovering since the beginning of this book all the way into the prelude.
Maybe. This has been very
like she's
exhausting.
been recovering ever since before she walked into Two Rivers. She was still recovering from something. But yeah, so it is one of those. We didn't see anything too direct to indicate that anybody got seriously hurt. I mean, Land I thought Land might have broke his back or something, but not everybody is good and I'm glad to hear that. But when Rand comes back, everybody's Moraine and the ladies in particular, they're almost looking at him as if he's not the same person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Moraine already knew a lot about him, and I feel like the women did too. So I don't know why after his interaction with the Dark One, they're looking. What did you think? The Dark One possessed him or something? That's what it made. Or did you make an alliance with the Dark One? Or did you defeat the Dark One? So
I assumed that the reason that it was different, like, I don't think Moraine saw him Moraine now knows he's the dragon. The rest of them don't know. So Moraine's put 2 and 2 together and like, okay, this is the dragon. But she hasn't told that to Egwene and Nynaeve. For Egwene and Nynaeve, I think he's a male channeler. And like, they know that male channelers are dangerous.
Were they not listening to the Green Man?
Well, the Green Man didn't say he's a channeler. The Green Man said you're a child of the dragon, but nobody knows what that means.
I mean, I'm not in a book. I'm not in a book. But if I hear a talking tree say he's a child of the dragon, okay, then I don't need no other clues. Goodness gracious, I don't have to be a wise tree to know that. I don't see that. I get it. I mean, it's not every day somebody walks up to you saying you're a child of the dragon. So,
but they don't know what that means. You're putting that together. Literally, it's the tree man is talking. They don't really put that. I'm sorry, you just cracked me up. You looked so confused.
I'm saying because the tree said it. The tree said child of the dragon.
But he didn't say you're the dragon. He said, I don't even think he said child of the dragon. He said you are one of the people of the dragon or something. So
I thought he said I could be wrong. I thought he said child of the dragon though, but double check me on that because I have in my notes quotation child of the dragon.
I just shout today again. Egwene and Nynaeve were probably just still processing that a tree was talking. That's true.
Oh, okay. I will be paying attention to every syllable of that tree. Goodness gracious. But yeah, I feel like that's one of those airhead moments. Me personally, now again, I get it. I feel like that's an airhead moment. And then Nynaeve and Egwene kind of looking at him and, acting real weird about it. Now I understand, which is actually weird to me because I feel like it would have been better if he had this conversation with the guys and the girls, knowing that Rand is already thinking every woman is a Aes Sedai.
Maybe, yeah, but they don't. Yeah, they don't know what Rand's been thinking. It is interesting that she only tells the women.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the women they get to know things the guys don't.
What do you think about how the girls reacted to Rand?
I feel like it was a little harsh, even though Egwene bounced back. I feel like it was kind of harsh. Like knowing what he just did, it seems now, I don't know. It seems like he did the right thing in this fight with Bahasman. I don't know. But I feel like although they know since childhood the stories that they've been told about men going mad and being false dragons and yada, yada, yada. Like, ladies, it's Rand. It's the red hair legend. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's me. Goodness gracious. But I understand their fear about it, but I feel like they gave him little benefit of the doubt in that moment. And then Egwene kind of came to in a minute when she, decided to hug him and all that. But I feel like there was, at first, it was who are you? I don't know you.
So you were talking about how you thought that Egwene and Nynaeve's response was a bit harsh.
Let me actually be more specific. Their lack of a response. The lack of the response that they gave, for me personally, just that awkward silence, which Egwene did end up breaking up going against, I think, what she was feeling in that moment. But it was like, y'all don't remember me? You know what I'm saying? But a part of me understands why, because of all the narrative that have been coming out about men who channel the one power and things of that nature. But I just felt like they would give Rand a little bit more the benefit of the doubt. That's all.
Yeah. Now this is not something you and I have talked about. I know people in the chat will have heard me talk about this. Honestly, again, this time I think because I'm reading it through so slowly with you. I mean, not particularly slowly, but slowly. Rand has to figure it. Like, Rand himself was like, I could channel. No! And then he's hurt that other people have the exact same reaction he had to finding out that he could channel. And
Kate has a good description of it in the in the chat. I think they think that it's a death sentence. So going off of the comment Kate has is I feel like they also feel like it could even potentially be a death sentence on their hands for his behalf.
They might have to kill him.
So vice versa. So that's where I feel like a little bit of that
like they have to process, like, he had the same reaction to figuring it out in his own head. And they are having the exact same reaction that he had.
Sean said, well, we're probably going to have to kill Rand later.
Lol. But yeah, like the reaction isn't like hate or rejection. It's like, even Nynaeve is like, you're dangerous. Like, now I know you're dangerous. Like, it's, what do we do? What do we do in this moment? Makes sense. It's rough. It's a rough one.
But when the rest of the groups come back, I think Moraine reassures Rand that she hasn't told them. But I don't know if she just implicitly says, don't tell them. I think he just understands it's in your best interest not to bring this up to other people. So it's weird because he can't even confide in his other two best friends about this situation right now, so to speak.
Yeah. How do you think they would react? Like, just, I mean, this is a prediction, because, I mean, I'm going to, like, do you think that they will find out? And if they find out, how do you think they will react to it?
I feel like they are not always going to be friends. I feel like this group, either some of them, maybe all of them, maybe different phases could bounce back and forth. I feel like they actually going to be like nemesis at one point.
Oh, yeah.
That's just
I think you said that specifically about Matt, right?
Matt and Rand, just because, like, a lot of people, like, even like the Forsaken, they said, we found you because of him. He led us here. But then they also started saying, an old friend, old enemy. So they started going to all these different facets of who he was kind of to them. And I was like, and they even didn't even, they kind of like, we're not even here to try to mess with him. We're here for that guy.
Yeah.
So that was weird to me. That was a little bit weird. That was a little bit awkward. But yeah, I just have that feeling. But how do I feel like they will respond to Rand? I feel like they, in the moment, they would have been more verbally and vocally supportive, but then in the back end probably would have not been that supportive as things kind of cascade around. So that's why it's weird hearing the women, because they weren't initially vocally or verbally supportive, but, you know, it's kind of like, all right, we'll work through this. So
yeah,
that's where I think the difference was.
The difference is, okay. Do you think that, like, what are their names?
And Matt can't speak anyway. So hold on, let me get Matt can't speak anyway. You got a demon dagger that's attached to your soul. So brother, you already on a dark path. Okay. I ain't trying to hear nothing you got to say about me on my pathway. I forgot about that. I don't even care what Matt got to say.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Do you think that Perrin and Matt would react the same? Like, do you think they would have the same thoughts on that?
No, I feel like Matt would say some weird like joke that's not funny. Like, well, like he'll say something, well, I guess we're both, gonna be seeing Lucifer here pretty soon, huh? Like, I feel like he'll say something stupid like that. And Perrin will probably just kind of be silent, actually. He'll probably, because he's been silent the whole book, really. So he'll probably be silent. You have to drag the answer out of him.
Yeah, that's very, very true. You alluded to this before, but Moraine mentions here that, like, Rand has channeled before. So one about is Bella, right? There's one other one, and I don't know if you'll notice this or remember this. I tried to highlight it for you, but you did not pick up on it. Can you figure out what the other channeling instant was?
You tried to highlight it today, or you
no?
About just...
when we were speaking about this other thing that happened in the book.
I'm talking about it was in today's conversation or in a previous
In
conversation?
a previous episode. Yeah, previous conversation we had.
Oh, when he was at the jail. He channeled at the jail.
The
My
jail?
fault, not the jail. What? Not the jail. Brother, what's the skinny
The
innkeeper?
Thin Keeper. Okay, yeah, he
The
channeled
Thin
at the
Keeper.
Thin Keeper.
He channeled them.
Yeah, he channeled with the Thin Keeper. He channeled with Bella. And okay, sorry, with Bella. Okay, I'm going to rewind back a bit further. Do you remember what the symptoms of channeling sickness are? Like after you channel, what happens to you?
It's like a fever, right?
There's
like
a fever
or-
and chills. And then there's one other symptom. And again, I tried to highlight it. I know Shantane in the chat also was making jokes to try. I mean, maybe this wasn't Shantane's motivation.
You talking about that confidence?
Yeah, you start acting crazy. You act unusual. You do silly things.
Mm-hmm.
So after the Bella thing, do you remember where they go and what happens right after? Not right after, but a couple of days after Bella?
White Bridge, when he had to stand off with the white cloaks in the middle after Mad had
Yeah,
shot, got mud on their cloaks.
Yeah, that was a Barrelon, actually, not Whitebridge. But yeah, he starts acting crazy. There's another moment where he starts doing that. Do you remember what it is? He does something and he doesn't get why he's doing it. He's just acting a fool.
Oh yeah. On the boat when he was playing up in the.
Yes.
I was about to say the rafters, but on the same.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
No rafters on the boat.
Can you figure out what the channeling was that happened before that?
Well, he jumped on the dude when he was coming from being attacked by the Trollet.
Yep.
He was getting lessons from the Gleeman that during that time frame. I'm sorry, I'm not myself because I just ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so I need a pass on that one.
Right. Okay. It's like people don't notice this, and like people really don't pick this up. And you've picked up actually more than I think a lot of people do because of how slow we go through this. People read these books and they get to the end and they're like, "What?" Because if you go through it quickly, you definitely don't notice. When he jumps on there, the Trolloc is standing over him. And he thinks he's going to die. He's on the boat and he thinks he's going to die. And then suddenly a boom, which is like a part of the boat, swings and knocks the Trolloc into the water. So he channeled to knock the Trolloc into the water. And then a couple of days later, he acts stupid. And when I say Shantane was making jokes, she was making, like, we were trying to highlight the acting stupid part of the channeling sickness, and you were only picking up on the fevers part. So, both of us were trying to, I'm sure we weren't the only ones, just trying to, but you weren't focusing on that part, so.
I see what y'all tried to do. What did they say about the Asada to tell you the truth?
No,
but it may not be the truth that you want to hear.
I was trying to not spoil you, but also kind of point your eyes in a specific direction. That's all I was trying to do.
I got you. Okay, yeah, no, I didn't attribute that to that. I actually thought that he had a split there might have been another entity in him that
like
that
another person living inside his head. Yeah. All right. Okay. But that's what that was. So we know of at least 3 incidents in the book that he channels before the big channeling at the end. And some people actually think that he channeled to find the Green Man. I don't know, but again, it's not really confirmed, but he sorry. Kate, you turned us into Aes Sedai.
Hey, Rand said all women are Aes Sedai. That's what Rand said. You know what I'm saying? I just got to go off what Rand said.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
If it's true, I would take it. I would love to be able to channel. That would be so cool. But yeah. So and some people think, he channeled to find the Green Man because the way they describe it, he's thinking we need to find a place of safety, and then it says he feels prickling in his skin and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly they're in the Green Man. I don't know. That one's not confirmed. Pardon. I am channeling?
Yeah, YouTube channeling.
Oh.
You
got me. Yes. We are indeed. So, okay. It's a really cool thing. It's one of the things in this series. I mean, these are just little things that you can know when you go back. When I say I know you're going to reread it, but it's one of the reasons I think this fandom has lasted for so long, and it is so deep, and people love these books, and people like me make YouTube channels where we talk mostly about it, is because it's so fun to reread. when you know what he's like, when you know what Robert Jordan is doing, you go back and you see hints to things. Like I said, in that, for example, rambling thing that wagon driver says, there are hints to things that don't come up for like 5 or 6 books, and you're like, he's laying the groundwork, and it's really cool.
So, question though, does Robert Jordan actually come out and confirm that this is what was happening at that instance?
Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. That's why I say I know for sure 3 of these are channeling incidences, like the Boom, Bella, and whatever. Finding the Green Man, I don't know, because I don't think Robert Jordan has ever confirmed that.
Got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, no, that was interesting to know that, because Moraine talked about a few things, but the examples that you gave outside of Bella were interesting.
Moraine, I think, here says, like, because I noticed this, and you've actually said something similar to this. I hadn't noticed this before, but at certain point, Rand says the name of the Dark One, which I don't know if you picked up on it. The name is Shaitan. That's the name of the Dark One, which apparently... She says, don't say that name? Yeah, she says, don't say it. And, like, the world sort of lurches. And she says it because she thinks, like, we shouldn't assume that he's gone, which you've now alluded to, which I, like, honestly, I swear, I have not noticed that she says that in this already, so...
Well, and there's a few reasons why. Because remember, she's talking about Patton Fane. She was like, I feel like she said something like, he's in him as much as he might be upon. It was some weird indication that, so I don't know if he could, like, even if that Bahausamon guy got killed, he could still kind of like put parts of himself in Patton Fane and then, you know, come back to life in him, like, or in another person, so to speak. So that's why I feel like it's definitely not over. And then the when Moraine said, you know, was pretty much telling Rand not to say his name, it made me think that there's like power in saying his name. Like, you know, when people say stuff, it actually makes it come to life, you know, such as the Candy Man or things of that nature.
There is, like, in early on in the books, there's a mention of some farmer saying the name of the Dark One and then his crops dying. And so you're not supposed to say his name, because I think that the book explanation is if you say his name, he will look at you, and then if he looks at you, you don't want the Dark One looking at you.
I think, let me test out my channeling too, since I've read the book and I've come to the end. I think there we go. Yeah, I got it. I got a little bit of it, you know what I'm saying? It works a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta be a little bit careful, because, you know, you're a man, you're gonna get tainted. You're gonna get tainted.
Hey, it said man, it didn't say African American man. There we go. There's a category in it. Well, y'all, that wraps up book 1, The Eye of the World. It's funny, I never thought we would be here, but it was actually a lot of fun. I do want to give a major shout out to Jenny for hosting this. The quizzes, the dialogue, everything would not have been possible without her. She also did a lot of great stuff when it came to editing too. So this has been a super fun collaboration. Y'all let me know in the comments below how y'all like this collab. But now I want to kind of briefly talk a little bit about the Eye of the World book, how I felt about reading it, how I felt about that in correlation to watching the show. Do I think it's a spoiler? You know, all of that good stuff. I will say this, being able to see the series and also read/listen to the audiobook, man, it was like hearing 2 sides of a story. You get a lot more details, like 2 different people tell you, and it's funny because there's only one story, right? But if 2 people are telling you something, you pick up a lot more details once you hear 2 versions of it. Now, with that being said, obviously throughout the course of reading this book, I learned that there are a lot of things that were included in this first book that I feel like will be pivotal. This is me prediction mode. There's no Jenny to kind of be like, a lot of things that are pivotal, in my opinion, that did not show up in the series. And for that, I will say, as someone who will be watching the show only, I feel like the book could be a pretty big spoiler to somebody who is only trying to watch the show and then try to see how things, you know, come in stride with the series by itself. And for that reason, I will also say, I feel like to be on the safe side, I might have to at least be 2 seasons ahead of whatever the book is, if that makes sense. And I say this more so because I do reactions to the series, and we try our best to give our raw, genuine reactions to things, how they happen in a moment. Speculations is a huge part of things. But there were several new characters which were super fun to meet. A lot of the characters that I thought I knew, I learned a lot more about in this book, and actually have some deeper thoughts about, more complex thoughts about overall. But again, this was super fun. I don't regret reading this book at all. I'll say that I don't regret reading this book at all, but it does make me want to tread a little bit more carefully in the future when it comes to this type of stuff. And with that being said, y'all let me know if y'all agree or disagree with some of the things I said as we wrap this up. But without further ado, I do want to give a special shout out to our Patreon members. Appreciate you guys a lot. Y'all been holding it down. Y'all are one of the reasons that it is possible to keep creating content. But without further ado, I'm gonna catch y'all on the next video.